All right, and welcome back to Kivumbi 2017. We are now on the home stretch of the early version of Kivumbi 2017. Now, Kenya will go to the polls in 4 days locally. The dialogue about the election has reached a crescendo, and our international friends have been watching. One such friend is South Africa, and I'm now joined by the High Commissioner, Ms. Koleka Mkulwa. Welcome, Your Excellency. Let me first of all try and pronounce that correctly, and don't hold it against me if I can't. Is it Mkulwa? Mkulwana. Mkulwana.
Yes.
Okay, I'll not try that again, as that will be difficult. Thank you, Your Excellency, for joining us this morning. Let's first of all start with the relationship between Kenya and South Africa. How would you describe it?
First of all, thank you very much, and a very good morning to the viewers in Kenya and to you, and thanks for the invite. As you know, that the relationship with South Africa, not only in Kenya, but with the whole continent, and we remain thankful as South Africans for the role that have been played by African countries, including Kenya, in helping us to achieve our freedom. And I think that is very important. And the relationship between South Africa and Kenya is a historical relationship. It started a long time ago when South Africa was still having some difficulties, and we had some leaders from Kenya who have been helping the ruling party today in South Africa to achieve where we are. That includes Kenya. But getting into where we are now, South Africa and Kenya have been working in a number of areas. We had some South African experts working with experts from Kenya during Kenya's process towards the adoption of their constitution. If you are looking and comparing the Kenya's constitution and South Africa's constitution, you will see some huge similarities, which are based on fundamental pillars. Clear that the independence of judiciary, parliament and executive, those separation are stipulated in both constitutions. And that outlines that our relationship have been there for quite some time. And last year, we had a historical state visit of our president. But our president have been coming in and out in Kenya. You know that during ticket he was here, and we had a successful state visit. He came here with a number of ministers, and we've signed different agreements with Kenya and South Africa. That starts at defense, police, and in LAPSET, immigration, which was huge in 2014 when I was arriving here. So we've done some work in terms of our relationship, and I guess that whoever wins next week will take this relationship much far better. The relationship is very strong, and there are a number of things that we're doing with Kenya. And Kenya is very important for us, not only here, but in the region, in the continent. We are looking at Kenya very jealous as an African country.
Why jealously?
We are looking, because Kenya's role, sometimes when you are a local, you don't see your worth. We see, because we are outside, we see Kenya's role within the region, within the continent, and in the globe as a role that one day Kenyans will realize that we used to underestimate our role. And we are looking at them saying they do. Remember that South Africa, we are just new to democracy. We are much older than South Sudan. if you are looking at what is going Kenya, you've been celebrating about 54 years of your democracy.
Absolutely.
It's not about Kenya learning from South Africa. It's about what the road that you have traveled in your democracy and strengthening that relationship and that role, and so that we are learning, so that the mistake that you went through as a young democratic country, we can learn from you.
You can learn from them.
That's
and we'll come to we'll come to the elections and what possibly we can learn from each other. But still sticking with the relationship between South Africa and Kenya, when Jacob Zuma came not too long, I think it was October last year,
yes.
One of the things that Kenyans expected is that there would be a relax on the visa restrictions. What is the policy of South Africa towards Kenya regarding visa? Because when South Africans are coming this way, they don't have to get a visa. We expected at least that reciprocation, and isn't that what diplomacy is all about?
Yes, you know, the issue of immigration, it's an issue that you should not only look at South Africa learning from Kenya. Behind the scene, there is a lot that we are learning from Kenya. In terms of border management, I think you are expert because you've been dealing with these things for quite some time. I know that in terms of the immigration, it was very important for the Kenyans. But there are reviews that we have done, and there is work in progress. There are certain things that we said from now up to the next state visit, which will be in South Africa, that we need to do that. Reviews that we have done, we have introduced from 1 year up to 10-year visa for business people, people who have reduced the time limit from 7 days to 5 days. We have increased we have given long visas for business people, for people who are traveling in South Africa now. And we have done some reviews in terms of that. But ultimately, when both countries have assessed, there was a principal agreement that we'll look at how best can we do more reviews in terms of how we manage our immigration process.
Okay.
I agree with you that in the next state visit, immigration will be part of a renewal as we move forward.
To strengthen our relationship.
We strengthen our relationship.
Is there a possibility that with that state visit or with that review, we may have possibly where Kenyans can go into South Africa freely, just like South Africans come into Kenya?
I cannot confirm right now, but I'm saying there is a lot. Kenya, remember, is helping us as well. I know that under the late Minister of Interior, may his soul rest in peace, they've helped us a number of people that, because the question of the visa is very important. It's not just a paper.
Right.
It's about how we manage our borders and who goes where. Because
and of course, there's the issue of terrorism as well.
Yes, you remember that the South African document was used on the major attack in one of your malls here. So it is important, and Kenyans are taking us through a very thorough management in terms of training us on how to manage. So I think that is important. I cannot confirm that now, but with a strong relationship like this, I guess the possibilities are there.
Okay. Let's now look at the elections, and Kenya goes to the elections in another 4 days. Your thoughts, I'm sure you've been observing. You've said that there is much South Africa can learn from Kenya, and I'm sure vice versa. And now in terms of preparedness, what are your thoughts regarding Kenya being prepared for the elections from your observation?
Independent Electoral Commission here yesterday gave us a briefing. We were all in the National Telecenter where they were briefing us and testing their system. I guess that they are ready in terms of the preparation, and we are all excited that Kenyans are going, and we wish them a very peaceful election, because it is important that Kenyans have, as I already indicated to you, that this country is not important for you only. It's important for all of us, because it's very important globally and and the continental. On lessons, rather than sitting here trying to come up with lessons, I really think that I will just speak on my observation. I guess one of the observations that I picked up is I find it might be difficult for South Africans to have 6 ballot papers on one day. And I really think that I know my sisters and brothers here, they can handle that. I don't really think that for us, we can be able. I think that the 6 ballot papers might be for rural people, old people. It might be a little bit a challenge for South Africans.
Is that down to literacy levels, or is it down to logistical issues?
It will be my first observation. It's one thing that I will come and observe.
That you want to look at.
Want to look at it so that because in South Africa we're having a day dedicated for special votes,
right,
where you have people who are old, people who are disabled, people that are working for IEC and security agencies, and all those who feel that they cannot be able to go to the long queue. We have that day dedicated, and they apply to be special votes. But here, we have one day.
For all and sundry.
For all, even prisoners. Even ourselves, prisoners are voting on that category of special vote. But it will be interesting. It's one of the things that I'll be going as an observer to learn how best can we do it if we're going to move towards one day. But I really think that you've been doing it well, and I guess that people in Kenya, they are much organized and they understand that it's going to be a one day. But questions that I normally have is that, are they able, the spoiled vote, all those things are coming through my mind, but I'm not here to tell what Kenyans, but I'm coming to learn best practice. And especially when it comes to rural areas, because of course we do have rural areas as well, which are very vast. What best can I learn out of your processes?
Okay, and maybe we'll just take a short break in just a while, in a short bit. But they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is your system or how you do it in South Africa working for you? Would you need to change it to how Kenya is doing it? Would there be any need for that if it is working?
I've indicated to you that we're a small democratic country. We're just less than 25 years. We are looking in each and every best practice and see whether we can do evaluation, or if it's still working, there's no need to review. But every day, our government is telling us that go and learn, bring a best practice to us, so that we can be able to take our country forward.
All right, your maybe comments to Kenyans as we all now embrace ourselves. You've mentioned something important, and you've said that possibly from an observer point of view, we possibly may not realize how lucky we are as a country and a mature democracy or a maturing democracy. What would your comments be to Kenyans as we brace ourselves for the elections?
You know, to Kenyans, as an African child, being in my second home in the African continent, Kenyans should embrace themselves, going to this election, taking their own choices, knowing what they want and what is best for Kenya and what is best for the continent. But they must know that as outsiders, especially from the continent, who are looking at this country with jealousy, they might underestimate the role that they are playing, but they must go there. We wish them peaceful elections. Those who are going to lose, accept it, and those who are going to win, make sure that they lead this country with peace and prosperity. And the other thing that is important is that we must not see each other as enemies. What is common between South Africa and Kenya? It's our enemy is poverty and inequality. We need to take our people out of poverty to prosperity so that we can be able to leave this continent for a next generation in a better continent for all of us and our children.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Mkwalama. Okay, I'll keep trying, but thank you very much for those wonderful words of advice. This is Kivumbi 2017. At this point, we want to see what we have on World Press and Tricks.